Flying with my dear cat Amore from the UK to Italy was both scary and exciting. Here's how we did it. Getting ready. Before we left, I had to make sure that my cat had all the right papers to go to Italy. That means getting her microchip, a rabies shot and a health certificate from the vet. This preparation is very important and there are some specific steps to take. When they implant the microchip, they provide you with access information so that eventually you can update the address yourself. I plan to change it to my destination address in Italy once we landed. If the rabies vaccination was the animal's first vaccine, then they must wait for 21 days before entering the country. There is no time delay with booster injection, provided there is a proof that the booster was administered before the last vaccine had expired. You need an animal health certificate for your dog, cat or ferret if you're traveling from Great Britain, England, Wales and Scotland to an EU country or Northern Ireland. You must get an animal health certificate in the 10 days before you enter the EU with all the vaccination up to date. Before the flight, I was very nervous. I kept imagining the worst. My cat panicking, me not handling it well. I actually cried a few days before the trip, I know, wondering if I was doing the right thing. And the other option was finding her new family in the UK, but just I couldn't do that. Amore is part of my heart and I knew I had to try to take her with me. And you know what? On the day of the flight, she was chilling in her bag, completely relaxed. Meanwhile, I was the anxious one. Airline policy. Once that was all set, I booked our flight. With an airline that lets small pets under 8 kilos, I believe it's now 10 for some, fly in the cabin. Finding an airline that allowed me to bring my cat with me in the cabin wasn't easy, but then I discovered ITA Airways, which allowed me to take my cat with me under the passenger seat in the plane. This video is not sponsored by ITA Airways, but hey, if you'd like to sponsor me, my cat and I will be happy to fly with you again. I booked my cat's ticket by phone because at the time, about a year ago, it wasn't possible to do it online. So make sure to check the airline website for update policy, including sites and weight limits for carriers. ITA always had this dimension for soft carriers at the time, and there were 24 cm 8, 40 cm in length and 30 cm in width, 20 cm on international and intercontinental flights. Airline policy reminder. Every airline is different. Some require advanced pet reservation, some charge a fee. ITA Airways charge £80 at a time, and policy might change. Always double check with customer service. Packing up. Packing up, Amore had an own travel bag filled with her favorite blankets, toys and enough food and treats for the trip. I also packed a collapsible bowl and portable litter trays to ensure her comfort. Finding the right carrier was a bit of a challenge, but I found a semi-rigid model on Amazon that fit with the airline's allowed dimensions. It's important to prepare for the possibility of accident, so I placed a canopy pad in the carrier and I packed extra just to be safe. I also included a folding bowls in case Amore wanted to drink during the journey. To help Amore adjust to the carrier, I started training her early by leaving treats inside and letting her explore it at her own pace. Additionally, I purchased a cat leash because airports might require you to take your cat out of the carrier during security check. If your cat is anxious, you can request a separate room to do the security screening to help keep them calm. I also look up an emergency vet near my destination just in case. It's good to know where the nearest vet or 24 animal clinic is before you travel. Here is a helpful cat travel checklist. Animal health certificate, vaccination record and microchip info, airline pet carrier, favorite blanket or soft towel, comfort toy or familiar item, treats and travel-friendly food, collapsible food and water bowls, portable litter tray and small litter bag, pee pads, pet ID tag with contact info, cat leash and harness, calming drops or vet-approved medication, emergency vet clinic info near destination, wet wipes and paper towels. Flying day. The morning of our flight, I woke up super early. I fed my cat around 5:30 a.m. and then withheld food until we arrived to our destination to prevent motion sickness. The flight wasn't very long and it's recommended not to feed cats a few hours before flying anyway. The vet had prescribed a creamy paste for my cat to take from 3 days before the flight, but she refused to eat it at all. After trying my best, I decided to buy some calming drops for her, which I placed between her ears according to the instruction, and they just worked perfectly. At the airport, I presented Amore documents to the airline counter staff, who were very friendly. I went through security with my cat in a separate room, and the airport staff was incredibly helpful. Amore remained calm through the flight. We flew from London City to Milan and then from Milan to Bari. We had a very tight connection between flights and we had to go through security again in Milan with Amore. After clearing security, we dashed through the airport and just made it to our next flight in time. So I had packed our 20-kilo luggage in London, and as far as I know, you're not supposed to pack a battery in there either. Airports often restrict filming, especially at security costume or boarding gates. So filming yourself or your cat in public areas like near check-in or after landing is usually okay, but always check for signs or ask to staff if unsure. I didn't want to get in trouble, so I didn't film anything. I was too anxious to do it anyway, and I was focused on the journey. Flying together. On the first flight, I was very lucky and the seat next to mine was empty. So I placed the cat in her carry-on bag on the available seat, petting her through the flight. On the second flight, my cat stayed under the seat in front of me and I kept an eye on her, petting her to keep her calm. She picked out her carrier sometimes, probably wondering where we were going. Arriving in Bari. When the plane landed in Bari, I felt so happy and relieved. We had already checked in back in Milan, so once we arrived, we went directly to collect our luggage. Thankfully, our 20-kilo suitcase packed in London arrived in Bari with no issue. That was a relief because it contained cat food, my cat's toy and belonging, and few of my own things in the space that was left. Enjoying Italy together. Stepping out of the airport to the sunny Italian weather with Amore was amazing. We were ready to explore our new home together, knowing we had made it through the 2 flights safely. Flying with Amore taught me how to plan carefully and be patient. It was a big adventure that we did together, and I know we will always remember flying from the UK to Italy. If you're planning to travel with a pet, remember that with a little preparation it can be done safely. I would love to hear from you. Have you ever flown with your pet? Are you thinking about it? Share your experience or questions in the comment. I will be happy to help if I can, or just hear your story. Let's learn from each other. As always, thank you so much for watching this video. See you in the next one. I love you. Bye!